Hey everyone, this is Lisa from Life in Layouts, and it's the last day of the month, so it is month in review. I pulled out, of course, simple stories for the record, and today's sketch is going to be pulled from the sketches for the month in review, sketch number 7. Of course, you guys know that I am working through 2024, so this layout is going to be about April. My niece's birthday is in April, so that is one of the photos that I kind of highlighted and made it a 4x6, a little bit larger than any of the other photos. I did also use the Canva template that I have over in my Facebook group to create the photo that's on the far right, and that is the two 4x6 photos that I'm going to be using. All of the other photos are going to be either 3x3 or 3x4, and I do have one that I cut down pretty small to just have the information from a post from Instagram. Once I got all the photos laid out, I decided to look through the 6x8 paper pad because I know that I needed one more 3x4 card because I knew I was going to need a flip flap. I did cut down this particular 3x4 that says, "It's the little things in life that matter the most." And of course, I pulled out the two pieces that I'm going to be using on every layout, and that is the pre-made cluster that has the calendar on it that says April, as well as the number 4. This particular sketch has a block over on the far left-hand side, and when I sat down to do this layout, I thought, this is pretty much the same sketch that I did last month, just flipped around a little bit, which I feel like if you have so many photos, there's only so much configurations that you can do. I did a lot of stitching last month in the March layout, and I wanted to stay away from that. I actually did no stitching at all on this layout. I definitely wanted to use this blue paper that had all of the lines on it because I think that I have wanted to use this paper in every layout that I've done so far. It's probably my favorite paper in this collection, and I knew I wanted to have just a large predominant piece on the layout with this. So it is cut to 6x10, and I just love those florals at the bottom. Had no idea what I was going to do from there, but I knew I wanted to use that piece. So I did start to work on the photos, getting all of those down. Now, the sketch calls for 3x4 photos and 3x3 photos, and the configuration allowed for a wall of photos. So basically, it's a 6x10 on the far left and then just a wall of photos on the right. Some of my photos didn't work in the 3x3 size, so I went a little rogue, and I'm okay with that. There were a couple of photos that were supposed to be cut down to like 2.5x2.5 and then mounted on a 3x3. This photo that I'm cutting out of Eli, I thought was perfect. I have so many photos of him like this. The Polynesian is one of the best resorts to go to see the fireworks if you don't want to be in the park. We go there often to see the fireworks. And so I have so many photos of him just sitting on the grassy knoll in front of the bungalows with the fireworks in the background. And so it's kind of hard to see, so I thought that it would be good to put that one on a lighter paper, so I did choose a pink paper for that. Once I got that photo down, I started to add a couple of the other photos and making sure that I had the configurations that I needed. Because I wasn't doing a full 3x3, it did end up being a little more tricky for me. I had to pull out my X-Acto knife as well as my paper trimmer just to make sure that everything fit right. And I do have a little white border around a couple of the photos, and I'm perfectly okay with that. This last photo that I decided to add over on the right-hand side of the layout, there's a 3x4 photo at the top, and then it calls for two 3x3 photos below that. I didn't want to trim down the photo of myself to a 3x3 because it wouldn't look right. And then I also knew that I had that notification screenshot that Bella Boulevard liked my layout. Well, actually liked my photo of my layout. And that was the first time that Bella Boulevard ever liked any of my posts. So I was super excited about that. And I knew that that one could be smaller. So I went ahead and left the photo at 3x4 at the bottom, and then just figured out the size that I needed for that little screenshot. I did pull out this blue paper that I used last month in my layout. I'm loving this paper. I'm hoping I have another sheet of it because I am almost through with it and I've only used it on 2 layouts. And I like to use that as a mat to some of my photos. So once I got the blue paper down, then I went ahead and added that screenshot on top of it. Every month I take a screenshot of how my channel did. However, it doesn't come out until the next month. And so the way that the screenshot reads is Life in Layouts, here's how your channel did last month. And I wanted it to say, here's how your channel did in April. So I went ahead and added a little sticker that has the word April on it. And then I used these tile stickers to spell out the word in. And then it just has my stats. And I definitely wanted to include it this month because this is the month that I got into the Partners program. And I got 163 subscribers in 1 month, which is just phenomenal. Then I pulled out these tags from the 6x8 paper pad. I am loving the smaller size tags. I just used it on another layout recently, the Easter layout that I did. I just love the way that they look. They're small enough to fit in really nice places. They just have all kinds of fun details to them. So I ended up adding 5 tags to that space because, again, the photos that were on the bottom were supposed to be 3x3, allowing for 4 3x3 photos over on the left. But those were 2 photos, again, that I couldn't cut down. So I decided to leave them and then just add the tags. And they do overlap the photo of my niece in her high chair eating her birthday cake. Of course, having to pull out my hole punch to punch holes in the center of it. And it's very interesting to see that this hole punch is too small. If you guys remember back from my Easter layout, I cut out the tags from a 6x6 paper pad. This is a 6x8 paper pad, so the tags are a little bit bigger, which means that the holes are a little bit bigger. But I just went with it. I just left the little tiny white area around the tag and just wasn't going to worry about it. I did ink up the edges of the tags and then I'm going to go ahead and place them down. I have a couple of tags that have some wording on it. The far left one says, every photo tells a story. The middle one there with all the stripes says, focus on the good. Then there's one that has the office supplies with the pen and the stamp on it. That typewriter with the flowers, just chef kissed. I love that one. And that one says, hello there. And then that last tag says, it's up to me to see the beauty in everyday things. I felt like those tags really represent like daily life and month in review. Once I got all of the tags down, I did go ahead and add some jute twine to each one of them. I did pick this up at Dollar Tree and it seems to last forever. Once I got all of the jute twine on the tags, I did go ahead and trim them down so that they didn't overlap the photos too much. So now this is the next day. I went to bed and I was like, I'm trying to really figure out how I'm going to embellish over on the far left. The sketch calls for basically all of the photos to be numbered and then for you to write your journaling over there, but I wasn't feeling that. And then I was thinking about the sheet of paper that has all of the tiny phrases on it, as well as the amount of tiny phrases that are in this collection. They're on that paper, they're on the sticker sheets, they're in the sticker book. There's just so many of them. And I thought, you know what? This would be a great way to use up a bunch of them. So I do cut some of them out from this paper. I didn't want to cut too many because the backside of this paper is the push pins, which I love the navy with all of the colorful push pins on it. So I just cut out a couple. And I also knew that I had so many stickers that I could definitely get away with covering the entire left-hand side of the layout. I also wanted to use the stickers that had the days of the week, so Sunday through Saturday. And I started at the very top with the word Sunday and just went through all of the stickers, adding them down. When I was going through and putting them down, I didn't want any of the colors to be close to each other, and that made a little bit difficult to make sure that I had all of the colors represented, as well as making sure that I got the days of the week in order going down the layout. After I completed this, like the next day, I think, I was like, you know what? I wonder what it would look like if I had done a rainbow order. So putting them all together. And I have enough stickers left to be able to do that. So spoiler alert, probably sometime between May and December, you may see something very similar to this where I'm using up all of these tags, but they're going to be in a rainbow order. I did want to use predominantly the smaller tags, but I really liked this tag here that said every day. So I went ahead and added that down. And then I'm just continuing to add additional pieces. As I'm doing that, let me just talk a little bit about some of the photos. Like I said, April is my niece's birthday. We actually just celebrated her second birthday. So this one was her eating her smash cake. Down below it, I've already talked about the statistic numbers from my YouTube channel. Right next to it is actually an amazing photo that I captured at Typhoon Lagoon. Typhoon Lagoon is one of Disney's water parks, and I got to the park pretty early before they opened. And Disney allows you to get into the park up to a certain point, just like you're able to at the parks themselves. And where I was standing, I looked over into the lazy river and I was like, oh my goodness, I am never going to be able to capture that image again. So I pulled out my phone and I was able to capture the lazy river with no one in it. It's such a beautiful photo and I'm so excited that I captured it. And I actually talk about the fact that in 2024 is when we upgraded our passes to include the water parks. And this was probably like the second or third time that I had gone, but it was more about the fact that I'm able to enjoy the water parks at Disney now. Over on the far right-hand side of the layout is the collage photo of homemade tacos. I feel like tacos is just the best homemade dinner ever. It's definitely the American style tacos. We use Old El Paso taco kits. And for this particular tacos, it was actually Eli's redo of his birthday. We had his birthday party here at the house and he was extremely sick, like a fever of 102. It was really bad. So I allowed him to have another sleepover because that's what he had. He had the 4 boys over and we did a slip and slide and just had the ability for them to have some fun times. And I made tacos that night for them. And those boys tore it up. I think I made 5 pounds of taco meat and it was all gone. If you've ever had 4 teenagers in the house, you know that they can go through some food. But I did use the collage template from Canva that I have over in my Facebook group if you guys would like to check that out. So after I got all of the tags down, I wanted to fill in some of the holes. So I did pull out my color boxes in red, yellow, orange, as well as my wood veneer, and just added some hearts to fill in any of the spaces that were left. A lot of the space came from the fact that I just didn't have a word small enough to fit there. I really like the added touch of the hearts in all the different colors. And I will tell you that the way that this turned out, I love it so much. It's just so gorgeous. It's one of those things that when I'm laying in bed and I have this idea that comes to me, and you guys know that I've talked about it before in regards to the fact that if you've ever taken the Apple brain test, I cannot see things in my head, so I'm only able to think about what I can make it look like. I can't actually visualize it. So for me to be able to come into my craft room the next day and actually execute an idea that I had and it turn out as beautiful as I was hoping is something that doesn't happen very often. So I'm really glad that this turned out as great as I thought it would. Once I got all of that down, then I started to work on the right-hand side again. And as I am putting those photos down, let me just talk about these photos as well. So on the upper left-hand side of the right-hand side of the layout is a picture of Eli and 2 of his friends. This photo was actually taken by his best friend's mom. Eli is just making a silly face. So nothing special about it, just friends hanging out. Right next to that is a photo of my computer as well as a stack of layouts. This was at the crop that I attend monthly, and I do not actually scrapbook at those crops because it just takes too much to bring my camera and film while I'm there, especially since it's just a day crop. So I tend to do things like typing up journaling or planning out layouts. And so that was just a picture of that. Right next to it is a gallon size of Simply lemonade, as well as a Kool-Aid packet and some Bacardi pineapple rum. And the journaling just says, TikTok made me do it. I saw this TikTok video about how you can make some adult lemonade, and it's just basically pouring out some of the lemonade, replacing it with the rum, and then adding the very best Kool-Aid packet ever, which is the blue raspberry lemonade. And it was so very yummy. And then the photo right next to it is the photo of Eli at the Polynesian. I did decide to put the April embellishment cluster on a 3x4 card to add it to a flip flap because I needed an additional flip flap. I thought I was only going to need 1, but I do end up using 2 on this layout. So I started to work on that cluster. And then I'm going to be using the same technique that I've been using for my dates on these photos. I do have this die as well as the stamp linked below. I am basically just cutting out the circles and then stacking them 3 high and adding the date on top of them, and then adding the date to each one of my photos. So as I am adding the dates to these tiny little circles, let's get back to the photos. There's a photo of Eli laying on the floor playing a computer game. This computer was actually given to him by my grandfather, and he played it like 3 or 4 times, and then he was like, yeah, I prefer my PlayStation. But it was fun to have, and it was just an older computer that he was going to get rid of anyways. There are 2 photos from April 16th. One particular photo was me editing a YouTube video, and that video itself actually got a ton of views because there were so many photos on it. It was a layout about playing mini golf on the cruise, and I had taken photos of each one of the holes on the mini golf course. And I think that being able to get a ton of photos on layouts is something that you guys just love seeing. So that was me editing that video in the car while I waited for Eli to get done with therapy. And then also on the 16th, we tend to get blizzards after therapy because therapy is a tough thing to do, and Dairy Queen blizzards just always help. And that particular blizzard was the s'mores blizzard, which is my absolute favorite. And then the last photo that I haven't talked about yet is actually at my friend Abby's son's birthday. I had the hard Mountain Dew, which is a very yummy adult beverage. So after I got all of the numbers down, I then decided to work on that little cluster. I knew I was going to use that area for the month, so I went ahead and added the craft color paper down and then added the word April. I did have it overlap the area as well as the photo below it, and then I just started to add some embellishments. I'm really leaning into the office supplies because that's what this collection has a ton of, so I'm trying to just add a bunch of different office supplies all around the layout. So I added a binder clip as well as a paper clip and a flower. I also added the green leaves over to the top. I feel like even though I have used a ton of flowers on a bunch of the layouts that I've already done, I still have a ton of flowers left. I also decided to add the word April. When I was looking through the collection last month, I realized that the month of the year is in so many places. So I figured I'm just going to add April multiple times on a layout and just go with it. For my journaling, I decided that I was going to get everything on one 3x4 card, and that is why I needed the other flip flap. So I'm going to have 2 flip flaps. One of them is going to contain my journaling. One's going to contain that 3x4 card that I cut out at the beginning of the video that says it's the little things in life that matter the most. The other one's going to have the April embellishment cluster that's already created, and on the back of that is actually a photo of the layout that I created when I was a guest designer for the scrapbookingstore.com kit club, and I did so much stitching on that layout. I just love that layout so much. It will be linked below if you want to check out how Pooh was just very upset about the fact that he could not catch any butterflies. And then looking through the embellishments, I pulled out anything that had the number 4 as well as the word April and adding it to the layout. And then just like all the other layouts, I pulled out this die set that I'm using to document the year 2024. I decided to use the same pink paper that is in the upper right-hand corner since they're kind of close together. And I did stack them 2 high with the white cardstock and then added the light pink cardstock on top of it. I did get this technique from Nicole, and I will link her tutorial on how to do this down below if you would like to check it out. So I am super excited to be getting through the month in review. This is the first time that I've ever done a month in review, and this is now the 4th layout that I have completed. And I'm just really enjoying having all of these smaller stories documented, as well as having fun with just different types of techniques that I don't know that I would use on my regular layouts. So I was able to get a total of 16 photos on this layout, which is just phenomenal. I do have like a wall of photos on the right-hand side, but I feel like I still was able to get quite a bit of embellishments on this layout as well. I do have a playlist for the month in review. It is linked below, but I also have playlists for simple stories as well as other manufacturers if you guys want to check it out. But that is it for this video. Here is my final layout as well as some close-ups. I hope you guys are enjoying this month in review using the simple stories for the record. If you enjoyed this video, if you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already and you want to see more double page layout inspiration, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope that you have a scrappy day.